welcome to another exciting video. In this one, we'll learn why we need to use the key property when rendering a list with React. It doesn't take long working with React before you want to render a list of items, and when you do, you will inevitably encounter this console warning which says each child in a list should have a unique key property. This warning is pretty simple to silence by providing the bespoke key property, but it is really useful to understand what that warning is about and the bugs that can happen if you do not address the warning properly. In this lesson, we will see a demo of this problem and understand a situation that can happen when we don't handle it properly. We are using inputs in this example, but the same thing can happen for your own components that maintain state. You definitely do not want to ignore this warning. Here, we have an app that's managing some items. We can add item, we can remove some items, and here we have a fixed list of items that can be added or removed, and we have a button to add additional items, which is disabled when we have added all of our items. And then we iterate over the items that we have and render a list of items for each of these. Here we have remove buttons for each one of these, then the item name itself, and an input with that item in it. When we render this, we are going to get this warning that says each child in a list should have a unique key prop. What that's talking about is anytime you render an array of React elements, in our case we are rendering these items as list items over here using items.map method. Each one of those React elements must have a key property associated with it so that React can track these appropriately over time. Don't be fooled by the syntax, there's nothing really magic going on here. What we are doing is we are taking an array of strings, we are mapping over that array of strings and turning that array of strings into an array of React elements. Specifically, in our case, these are all li elements. That's the case where you need to have a key property for every React element in the array. To fix this warning is pretty simple. We look for the key property, and over here what we can do is we can simply make use of the item, and here we say id. So if you look at the const all items, we have id and value associated, and over here we are iterating all the items. So the key property that we are trying to set is unique, and the uniqueness is coming from the id attribute of the item collection. So here we have item.id. Let's save this and render it. There you go. You don't see that warning anymore. Now, I'm not a huge fan of changing my code just to make warnings go away. I like to understand why that warning is there in the first place. That's why we have this contrived example for me to show you. Here we have a list of each one of these items that we see over here and over here on the page. So if you observe closely, we have the label, and then the same is populated in the text box. Now let's go ahead and remove the key property from here and then save this. Now we'll get the same warning again, but see what happens when we try removing items from the list. So if I go ahead and remove grape from here, you notice pear is now pointing to grape. Earlier it was pear and the text also had the same value. So you see, when the id is not there, React is not able to keep track of all the items in correct order. And here, that's what's happening. You see now pear is now associated with orange. Now to avoid such instances, we have to have a key property mentioned over here. Now you cannot just go ahead and have a static key or a duplicate key for that matter specified as the key property. In that case, you will get another kind of warning. It says two children with the same key. Keys should be unique so that components maintain their identity across updates. And that's what we need to do. So when the updates are happening, it needs to keep the state properly. So whenever we're not having the key property over here and we're clicking on this remove button, it is going over here in this function and it's trying to filter out the item that you don't want and then re-render the component over here. But while doing so, it's not having the correct state. And because of that, the mappings that you see with label and text boxes are different. That's why providing a unique key for each one of these items is going to fix this problem. So let's go ahead and try doing that. So we'll introduce key and then we'll have the item.id as the value for that key. Let's save this. And now if I go ahead and remove peer, you'll see it's not shaking up things over here. It's correctly deleting items. Like if I delete orange, it's deleting orange versus orange. And now I can go ahead and add the remaining items. I can go ahead and remove grape now, and things are working properly. So now I hope that you understand why key attribute is required when you're working with list items in React.